The harder we try to fix things, the more they come undone. Why? To understand what is going on, we must understand our own group psychology. When humans come together as a group, we tend to give ourselves fully to the ideas that brought us together. Individuality is lost, and the group acts as a whole. The individuals in a group tend to exhibit altruistic, even self-sacrificing behaviors for the greater good of the group. Highly moral in respect to its own values, yet irritable and impulsive on a whole, and of lesser intelligence than even an individual, the group becomes supercharged with the passion to pursue its collective ideals. We call this groupthink. Groupthink happens in part because of the social pressures from your peers, and in part because it gives us a sense of belonging and a higher purpose. To harness widespread agreement, the ideas are limited to being simple and easily understood. Then, once brought together under an idea, the behavior of a group is forever confined by the ideas that brought them together, because these ideas cannot be questioned. For once they are questioned, the community founded on those ideas will come into question as well and immediately begin to deteriorate. For example, have you ever noticed how easy it is to feel connected to someone if you happen to be wearing the same shirt? The shirt and the ideas it represents have become the common bond. If the conversation goes well, you may even end up pursuing your related common interests together. Yet, if they point out that you're wearing the same shirt, and your response is that you don't really like the shirt, then that sense of connectedness will surely fade. To understand the magnitude of groupthink, it's important to recognize that groupthink occurs in every person, in every capacity, and at every scale. Whether we were stuck in an elevator together, gathered for a party, members of the same online forum, or in a riot. Whether we're thinking of ourselves as part of a religion, a nation, or a race. As individuals, we generally transition from one group mind to another with ease, and without awareness. This is how individuals can seem to hold such contradictory beliefs. For instance, if you ask people what they think about sharing, almost everyone will agree with the concept. After all, we'll be answering from the group mind of our collective childhood, when we were all taught to share. By sheer repetition, this sentiment is so strong it would be hard to say sharing is bad. Yet, when a conversation turns to economics, people switch to the group mind of economists and assure each other that the smartest thing to do with your money is to save it. It may never occur to someone that saving money is the opposite of sharing money. The implications of this are that we practically do not exist as individuals. We are like cells in the body of larger organisms. These superorganisms are the ideas themselves. And because we can so seamlessly lend ourselves to one idea after another, we are nearly powerless to alter their course. All we can really do is choose whether to feed into an idea or not. The nature of an idea, once it has caught on, is to spread. There's no stopping it. Yet, it will just as inevitably become corrupted. As an idea spreads, the underlying meaning and sentiments of the idea shift. Over time, an idea becomes nothing more than an empty vessel to be polluted with whatever people decide to fill it with. This is how communism can start as the simple idea of creating a culture of sharing, and end up as a fascist regime in one country, while at the same time being hunted down like anarchists by a fascist regime in another country. It also explains why the idea of universal brotherhood can arise repeatedly, under different names, without ever catching on, and always devolving into warring gangs. And so these ideas endlessly duke it out as they rise and fall, using us as their mindless weapons. Historical events, such as riots, invasions, and holy wars, are just the spectacle of events which reflect the real battle of ideas always going on under the surface. A battle that is being played out in every living room, in every street corner, in every conversation, in every internal dialogue. You might think that, because ideas inevitably spread, our collective enlightenment is inevitable. That depends on what you mean by enlightenment. Having found cohesion in the simplicity of ideas on which a civilization was founded, a civilization only plummets further into chaos over time as the ideas multiply. Have you noticed we have more and more things to disagree on, with each passing year? And as the fleeting ideas occasionally shed light on the illusions that previously upheld our civilization, our confidence in our systems and institutions falters, and so our systems and institutions begin to fail. Then, as the ideas evolve, our ideas being no more than empty vessels with shifting definitions and blind followers, we eventually find ourselves in an era of confusion, misunderstanding, endless warfare, and civil unrest. We have arrived in Babylon. At the same time, much in the same way as ideas multiply over time, so do laws. The constant creation of new laws and regulations of a restrictive nature confines citizens to fewer and fewer acceptable thoughts and actions. Believing these laws are the very thing that give us freedom, we consent daily to our slow, subtle enslavement. Whether this is a New World Order agenda or just the nature of lawmakers trying to look busy is of little consequence. Becoming accustomed to putting up with every little law, we lose all spontaneity and energy. We lose our passion for life. We are then no more than passive, unresisting automatas. Now forced to seek outside ourselves what we once had inside, we turn to government. The very thing that took away our freedoms. And as we become less and less capable of taking care of ourselves, government steps up still further to fill the void. We must be careful this process does not march us into a North Korean mind prison. As we increasingly have trouble feeling a part of something or finding meaning, we're no longer sure if we agree with all those ideas this civilization was founded on. After all, look where it's taking us. And as those ideas come into question, so do all the ideas that are based on them. Everything is up in the air. The entire civilization destabilizes. No one knows what to believe anymore. We become lost and confused, isolated, lonely individuals, without anything to hold on to. Eventually, the only thing we can agree on is the complete and total destruction of our civilization. As family and other close ties are breaking down, we begin to gather in large groups. And any large gathering tends toward a riot. Tired of feeling imprisoned, we finally rise up to throw off the chains. This is the prophetic era of barbarism. The final stages of collapse which no civilization has yet avoided. The illusions have already been shown for what they are. Our money is based on debt. Our economy is modeled on scarcity, and so in an age of abundance it imposes scarcity artificially. There are enough empty houses to house every homeless person. If history repeats itself, as it's been known to do, now is when the only thing left holding society together is the empty traditions and institutions that we have yet to let go of, and the older people still holding on to old ideas. So, what do? Where do we go from here? We feel stuck in a desperate situation. Deep down we know freedom will never be given. It must be taken. But we're not sure how. So we pour out into the streets and demand justice. We're beaten back by cops, so we start to riot. We have become the barbarians. And just as we came before, crashing over the walls of Rome, we were back to tear it all down again. Unfortunately, they expected us. We live in a world covered in a civilization of unprecedented size. So large that different parts of the globe are at different phases of collapse at any given time. So while the Mayans ran to the woods, and the Romans were eventually overtaken by the rising tide of barbarians, we may have fewer options. We have predator drones to worry about. We have complex societies all bordering each other, so that as they collapse they can be absorbed by each other. We have a ruling class that has understood how the cycle of civilizations works for at least 100 years, and has been tailoring the shape of our groupthink using mass media as a form of mind control for a long time to try to prevent a typical collapse. So what can we do? As FEMA camps rise on the horizon as an ominous symbol of what may come, we are confronted with the reality that throwing ourselves mindlessly at the current regime may be hopeless. Barbarians never had to contend with robots and an all-encompassing surveillance state before. They didn't have detention centers awaiting their arrival before they even appeared. This could be our wake-up call. Our only option may be to awaken out of this perpetual cycle between civilization and barbarism. It's time to awaken a new era. We are coming down to our final hour. Yet, too many of us are still in denial of our own role in the situation. This is the news that is most urgently lacking. That we are all players and agents in all that happens. Before reacting with the impulsive, violent, irrational behavior of groupthink, try looking inside yourself. No matter the situation. Don't blame anyone else for what is happening. You are causing it just as much as they are. We all have a responsibility to each other. We're all in this together. And remember, we aren't even the ones fighting, our ideas are fighting. Our outdated systems and institutions are fighting. And we feel imprisoned to them for pride and ego and fear of survival. We are our own worst enemies. We're still manifesting our destruction while blaming others. We play the victim, even though we're the only ones letting our fellows suffer. Why? We have somewhere to be. We're too busy to help. We have to get to work. We think our work is helping. Now we're too tired. Got to get home. By passing the world by, between home, work, and consumer experiences, we're keeping our groupthink confined to certain sets of beliefs. We think of ourselves as part of a family. We think of ourselves as a part of the team at work. But too often we don't extend that groupthink to all of humanity. We work these jobs that are screwing everyone over in little ways here and there. Supporting the oil industry. Paying taxes to the military-industrial complex and the police whose only purpose is to protect the economy we shouldn't be relying on anymore. Let's not parade around like little automatas, running in any direction that any idea ever went. Since we were bound by the laws of groupthink anyhow, why not just lend our minds to humanity as a whole? Rather than the systems and institutions of old. Just helping each other, here and now. Doing what we can. Staying alive. Being grateful for what we have. Here's one idea that once it spreads, could rapidly sort out a lot of our problems. That's the idea of distribution. Not the kind of distribution that relies on our faltering economy. Real resource distribution. Here and now. Distribution has 6 basic parts to it. Forgive all debts, whether monetary or emotional. Seek the perfect trajectory for your generosity that will conspire toward a world of greater access to resources for all. Overcome your fears and desires that keep you turning to money. Honor gifts and favors as sacred, and always pay it forward. Rapidly alter relationships to honor the values of distribution rather than those of business. And forget all your burdens and obligations and start living in the moment. First, to live in the moment, we need to break out of all the groupthink. It isn't working for us anymore. Not right now. You aren't a kid or an adult. You aren't a student, worker, housewife, farmer. You aren't any of these things. You aren't part of a family. You aren't part of a race. You aren't part of a country. You're part of humanity. You're part of a world in chaos, full of nearly identical people running around killing each other over ideas we don't even believe in anymore, and we all want it to stop. You are a lone soldier in a spiritual war over the fate of the earth. You alone can make the right decision. You alone can bring our world into the light or plunge her into greater darkness. Here we all are, fighting over nothing, leaving each other without the bare necessities, when there is plenty to go around. Let's stop. Stop everything. You're sitting in your living room. You're in a park or at a cafe. There's people all around you. They're right next door. Have you met them? What do you have to offer? Offer them something. The gift is the universal language. Perfect for Babylon, when no other language seems to be working anymore. Perfect for the collapse of Babylon, and transition to a new way of life. It breeds community instantly. It connects you on a level beyond superficial interaction. You're giving up a piece of yourself to be a part of them. We give each other food we grew, and clothes we made, and it becomes our mechanism of survival. Only then will money be obsolete. But the most important mechanism on which distribution relies is rewarding the generous with generosity. Be shrewd. Don't get caught up in the groupthink. No matter what illusions people try to spin, pay attention. If someone isn't paying it forward, stop being generous to them. Explain to them why. We aren't giving just to make friends, or because it feels good. Although, those things do often happen. We're giving to distribute resources intentionally, with the intent of increasing access to resources for all. No one else is going to do this for us. The fate of humanity depends on it. Use the process of overcoming your addiction to money as your spiritual path. The civilization around us is a consequence of our addiction to it. Whatever keeps you turning to money is your teacher, and the next thing you need to learn to overcome. A fear. A wand. Or a need you haven't yet learned to meet without money. But most of all, focus on doing what you love. We're not working for ourselves, or any of these divisive groupthink ideas anymore. We're not working for money. We're working for distribution. We're working for everyone. Money has always been a matter of convenience, and there will always be something that is easier to get with money than without. But it is convenience at the cost of others' comfort or even survival. What's harder is making the connections, cultivating the community, and pooling the resources to make it all happen for free. And because necessity is the mother of invention, the sooner you stop using money, the sooner you learn to live without it. We're the new breed of barbarians. Now when someone asks what you do, you can say you work for distribution. If they haven't heard of it, explain it to them or give them a link. We are anonymous. We do not forgive. We do not forget. Expect us.